write a function to sort users using user.id. You can notice it has immediately suggested the auto completion. Press tab to accept this suggestion and press enter. Again, autocomplete a suggestion. Let's accept this. Now it has suggested the complete code. Export function sort users by ID. Let's clean this. Now let's generate doc block or docstring for this function. So select this function and press Ctrl+Shift+P to open command palette, and here search for generate docstring and press enter. And here it has updated the doc block for this function. Great. Here we are getting error, unquote reference error, calculate area is not defined. But in this code we are not able to find the issue. So what we can do, ask this to AI to find and fix the error, and press the key Ctrl+Shift+Q, and right here you can see this is the selected code, and in this chat we can ask anything about this code. So let's say we want to ask about this error. So copy this, let's paste this error and press enter. Immediately it has analyzes the code and find the issue. The error is the typo in the code, and here it has suggested the corrected code. Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. It's been a month since I launched the Spec Coder VS Code extension, which is AI powered and designed to make coding quicker and easier for you. I am extremely grateful for the positive response that I have received for this extension. Thank you so much for your support. I have added some new features to this extension, such as Autocomplete and improved AI commit message generation. Spec Coder now supports even more leading AI providers, giving you access to even wider range of capabilities. We are talking about Hugging Face and Ollama. These are amazing tools for coders, giving you access to a vast range of capabilities. I have also made changes to the configuration settings. As a result, I have decided to create a detailed video showcasing all of the new features. So let's get started. In my previous video about Spec Coder, I demonstrated that it supports Gemini AI and OpenAI. Now we have added support for Hugging Face and Ollama as well. So now with Spec Coder you can utilize the AI models Gemini, OpenAI, Hugging Face and Ollama. Gemini AI provides a powerful AI model, the Gemini Pro. OpenAI offers access to robust language models like ChatGPT and GPT-4. And Hugging Face is an innovative platform that contains pre-trained AI models. By integrating Spec Coder with Hugging Face, you can leverage the power of these models to enhance your coding experience. Ollama is a user-friendly framework that allows you to leverage powerful large language models on your local machine. So with Ollama, you don't even need internet access. By integrating Spec Coder with Ollama, you can use large language models offline without an internet connections for tasks like code completion, bug detection, and AI chat assistance, all within your VS Code environment. Now let's see this in action. So in the VS Code editor, let's click this extension icon and here search for Spec Coder. And here we have this Spec Coder extension. Let's install this. Now it is installed and you can notice this chat icon. Let's open this. Here you can get coding assistance and guidance through AI. First, let's enter the license key to activate this. So let's click this, enter your license key and paste the license key right here. Now license is activated. Now reload the editor to complete the process. It is done. Now let's check the configurations. In the status bar you will notice an icon that is added by Spec Coder, indicating that it will use Gemini AI for code auto-completion. We can change this in the configuration setting. Just click this icon to open the Spec Coder settings. In the configuration settings, the first option is to select an AI provider for chat assistance. Here we have options Gemini, OpenAI, Hugging Face and Ollama. You can select one that suits you best based on your preferences. The second configuration setting is to select an AI provider for auto-complete code generation. Here we have same options Gemini, OpenAI, Hugging Face and Ollama. You can select any one of these according to your preferences. So now you have option to select different AI providers for chat only and different AI provider for auto-complete code generation. And the next option is enable autocomplete, which is very straightforward. If you want to enable autocomplete, check this, and if you want to disable autocomplete and want to generate code manually, then uncheck this. So for now let's enable it. The next setting is temperature, which affects the creativity of the model. The temperature range is between 0 to 1, with higher value resulting is more creativity but less accuracy. The next option is to change font size in the chat. If you want to change font size, then you can modify this value. The next configuration setting is to enable the use of emojis in AI commit messages. If you want to use emojis in your AI commits, then you can enable this option. Our next configuration setting is to configure the selected AI providers. Here we have configuration settings for Gemini. Here is the OpenAI, Hugging Face and Ollama. We will see all of these one by one. First, let's start with Gemini AI. To start with Gemini, first we need Gemini API key. In my previous Spec Coder video, I explained how to obtain one. Let's see the process once again in case you missed it. So, to get API key, let's open this URL. So, copy this. Now here, to create API key, we need to click on this Create API Key button. Let's click this. Now here, we have two options available to create API key. First this one and second this one. The first option will only be visible if you have not created an API key before. In case you have already created an API key and want to create a new one, you will see the second option. I will demonstrate the both cases of creating API key for you. In the first option, to create an API key for Gemini, simply click Create API Key in New Project, this button. It is a quick and easy process that only takes few seconds to complete. Now we have Gemini API key and we are ready to use it in the Spec Coder configuration. So copy this and we can paste it right here and it is ready to use. Now let's see the second option. So close this and refresh the page. Now let's click on this Create API Key button. Now because we have already created an API key, so this time it has shown us only the second option to create a new API key. And this option is little different. First we need to create a new project in the Google Cloud Console. So in the new tab, let's open the URL console.cloud.google.com, this one. Here we have this generative language client that it has automatically created when we have created the first Gemini API key. Now let's create a new project by clicking this Create Project button. And here we can give project name anything we like. For example, let's say Spec Coder. And click this Create button. It will create a Spec Coder project in a few seconds. It's done. Now we can close this tab and go back to Google AI Studio. Right here in this input field, search for the project we just created in the Google Cloud Console. In this case, it is Spec Coder. And here it is. Select this and click on this button, Create API Key for existing project. and now it has generated a new API key for us and use it in the Spec Coder configuration right here. After entering the API key, the next step is to select AI models, and there are two options available: Gemini AI model for chat and Gemini AI model for autocomplete code generation, and the drop down displays the models supported by each options. You can select any model based on your preferences. Now let's test if this is working. First, let's make sure we have selected Chat AI Assistant Provider Gemini and Code AI Assistants to Gemini. Now let's test this AI chat. Let's ask this AI powered chat, what is the array.map method? And here we get the AI response with proper explanation. Let's test the AI autocomplete feature also. So here let's say we have a file index.ts, and here let's say write a function to add two numbers. Immediately AI has generated the complete code for us, and press tab to accept this. Let's see one more example. So function add to array, and here it has completed the code for us. How cool is that? Now let's remove this. Let's close this, and now let's configure the OpenAI also. So first, for the chat AI assistants, let's select OpenAI. Now right here in this chat, let's clear this message, and here if I send message hello, immediately we get the error missing OpenAI API key. So let's take a look at the OpenAI configurations. So here is the OpenAI configuration, and right here we need to enter the OpenAI API key. So to get the API key, let's visit this URL. If you don't have an account, create one and navigate to this URL. Now here click on this button, create new secret key, and give a name, for example Spec Coder, then click on the create secret key button. Now we have this secret key, copy this, navigate to the editor and paste it right here. Next step is to select AI models you want to use, and these are the options for AI chat, and here you can select OpenAI models for autocomplete code generation. It's done. Now let's test this. So let's open the AI chat, clear messages, and let's type hello, and we get the response, hello, how can I assist you today? Let's ask this AI, give me an example of array dot for each method. Great, here it has given this example code with proper explanation. I think font is little small and maybe not clearly visible in the video, so let's little bit increase the font size. So here in the AI assistance provider and scroll down, here is the chat font size. Let's increase this to 13 and reload now. Now let's see this chat. Now it is okay, I think. Now let's test the autocomplete code feature with OpenAI also. So first, in the status bar you can see that it is using Gemini for code generation. So let's change this. So in the AI assistance provider settings, here code AI assistant provider is Gemini. Let's change this to OpenAI. Is done. Now let's open the index.js, and here let's say write a function to filter even numbers in array, and immediately it has suggested the complete function for us. Press tab to accept this. So next we can say const even numbers is equal to, and here it has completed the code for us, and
Press tab to accept this code. Great. Now let's remove this and close it. Now let's move on to Hugging Face. Here we need to enter the Hugging Face API key. Let's open this URL to get API key. Now log in into your account. If you do not have an account, create one and then navigate to this URL. Next, to create a API key, click on this new token button and name project anything. Let's say Spec Coder and select type read and then click on this button generate a token. Now we have this access token. Copy this and back to editor and paste the access token right here. Next we need to select the AI models. Right now for Hugging Face chat model, it only supports Mistral 7B instruct model. In future I will add more models, and for code generation model it is recommended to use Code Llama, but you can try different models also. It's done. Now let's test this. So first in the AI assistance provider, here for chat assistants let's select Hugging Face, and also for code AI assistant let's select Hugging Face. Now let's try this chat. Clear these messages. Let's say hello and immediately we get the response. Let's ask what is your model name, and it has responded with my model name is Mistral 7B. Next let's try the code completion. So in the index.js let's say write a function to filter even numbers, and it has suggested this code completion. Press tab to accept this. It is suggesting the code completion in chunks, and here we have complete function to filter even numbers. Great. Next let's move on to Ollama. Ollama is a tool that allows you to use large language models on your local machine without internet access. However, it requires high-end hardware to run LLMs locally, especially for large models. The system requirements for using large language models can vary depending on the specific model you wish to use. However, I can provide you with a general idea of what is required. Firstly, the operating system. Ollama is a cross-platform tool, means it can run on Mac OS, Linux or Windows machine. In terms of RAM, you will need at least 8 GB for running 3B models, and 16 GB for running 7B models, and 32 GB for running 13B models. Additionally, it is recommended to have a CPU with at least 4 cores. However, for running 13B model, a CPU with at least 8 cores is recommended for optimal performance. While GPU is not required for running Ollama, it can improve performance, especially for running large models. It is important to note that these are rough ideas of system requirements, and different large language models may have different requirements. However, as a general recommendation, it is best to have at least 16 GB RAM and a GPU for good performance. Now let's install the Ollama. So in the browser, let's open ollama.com and here click this download button. Now here choose the operating system and download the Ollama application and install it as you install regular application. I am on Linux, so let's copy this command, and on the terminal let's run this. Because I have already installed it, so I'm going to skip this. Next, to verify Ollama is properly installed, let's run Ollama on the terminal. If you are on Windows, then run it on PowerShell or command prompt and press enter. And here we get the available commands for Ollama. That means Ollama is properly installed. Next, Ollama serve. Here we get the error because Ollama is already running on this URL. Next, let's configure the Ollama in the VS Code editor. So let's navigate to editor. Here the first option is Ollama server URL, and this is the path where Ollama server is running. We do not need to change it. Next we need to set the AI model for chat and code generation, and these are the recommendations for chat AI model, and these are the recommendations for autocomplete code generation. However, you can try other large language models according to your preferences. Here on the Ollama website, click on these models. Here are the list of available large language models. For instance, let's say we want to use Llama 3. So let's see this. This model is a 18 billion parameter and its size is 4.7 GB. And here are the other available versions of Llama 3 model. To use this model, we need to first pull it in our local machine. So in the terminal, run Ollama pull and then model name. In our case, that is Llama 3, and paste it here. This command will download the Llama 3 model on our local machine. I have already downloaded it, so I am not going to run it again. Next, we need to add the model name in the Spec Coder configuration right here. It has already value Llama 3. Great. And similarly for the code generation model, these are the recommended models, and here the default value is CodeGemma 2B. Let's see this in the Ollama website. So here click these models and search for CodeGemma and open this, and here the latest version is 9 billion parameters and its size is 5 GB, but we want to use 2B model and it is 3 billion parameter and its size is 1.6 GB. So to use this, first we need to pull this. So similarly we need to copy this model name, and in the terminal we need to run Ollama pull CodeGemma 2B. Because I have already downloaded it, so I am not going to run it again. After this, we need to specify this in the Spec Coder configuration right here. Now let's test this. First, in the AI assistant providers, the chat AI assistant provider is Ollama, and also let's select this code AI assistant provider Ollama. Now we have selected the AI assistant providers for both chat and code generation, and also we had configured the Ollama configurations. So now let's test the AI chat. First, let's clear this. So let's ask what is ESLint, and here we go, we get the proper explanation with AI. Now let's see the auto code completion example also. So let's open the index.ts, and here let's say write a function to sort users using user.id. You can notice it has immediately suggested the auto completion in ascending order. Return an array of users sorted by id. Press tab to accept this suggestion and press enter, and here again autocomplete a suggestion, input and output values. Let's accept this. Now it has suggested the complete code, export function sort users by id. Great. Let's clean this. Now let's generate doc block or docstring for this function. So select this function and press Ctrl Shift P to open command palette, and here search for generate docstring. This one, Spec Coder generate docstring, and press enter. And here it has updated the doc block for this function. Great. You have now seen all the configurations and can select any of the listed AI providers for either chat or code generation based on your preferences. In future, I may add more AI providers to this list. Therefore, I recommend you to subscribe to our channel to stay updated. Now let's see the features of Spec Coder extension. So let's close this. The first feature is this AI chat that we have already seen.
It is like your friend who is always ready to help you with coding questions. Let's suppose first let's open the index.ts file, and let's suppose here we have this code, and let's rename this file to index.js. Next, here need to create index.html. Let's add HTML5 markup, and let's add a script tag, and immediately you can see it has suggested the code. Let's press tab to accept this, and here I will say index.js. Now in the browser, let's open this, and in the inspect tool, here we are getting error, uncode reference error, calculate area is not defined. But in this code, we are not able to find the issue. So what we can do, ask this to AI to find and fix the error. So let's copy this and press the key Ctrl+Shift+Q, and right here you can see this is the selected code, and in this chat we can ask anything about this code. So let's say we want to ask about this error, so copy this, let's paste this error and press enter. Immediately it has analyzes the code and find the issue. The error is the typo in the code, and here it has suggested the corrected code. Let's copy this and replace with this code, save this. Now in the browser, now we get the correct answer, area of circle. The next feature is code autocomplete. So let's say if I type function calculate area and then type radius, and immediately it has auto-completed the code. Now let's suppose you do not want to use autocomplete feature. Instead, you want to generate code manually. So you can disable this feature. For that, let's open the settings, and in the AI assistance provider, here is the option enable autocomplete. Let's uncheck this to disable this. Now auto completion is disabled. Now you can trigger code generation manually. Now let's suppose you want to write a function to validate an email address. Instead of spending time writing the validation code yourself, you can use Spec Coder's generate code feature. So here let's say create a function to validate email address, and then press Ctrl+Shift+Enter, and immediately it has generated the email validation function. You can also run it from the command palette also. So let's remove this and press Ctrl+Shift+P or Command+Shift+P for Mac and search for generate code. This one, Spec Coder generate code, and press enter, and immediately it has generated this code. If you want, you can also change the key map. So for that, press Ctrl+Shift+P or Command+Shift+P for Mac and then search for generate code. This one, Spec Coder generate code, and here the key map is Ctrl+Shift+Enter, and click this gear icon and double click on these key bindings, and here you can choose your preferred keyboard binding. I prefer Ctrl+Shift+Enter, so I'm going to skip this. In this example, the instruction was in one line, but let's suppose you have instructions in multiple lines. So let's say here instruction is create a function that takes an array of numbers as input, and in the next line and returns a new array containing only the even numbers. Now in this case we have instruction in 2 lines. So if I press enter from here, it will only use this line as instruction. So in case of multiple lines, we need to select the complete instruction and then press Ctrl+Shift+Enter. And immediately it has created this complete function. The next feature is generating commit messages. Those little summaries of what you changed in your code. Gotta have them for version control, but sometimes coming up with something clear can be struggling. But this AI commit message going to help you with that.
Let's see. So first let's initialize get repository, and then here you can see this little icon that generates commit message. If I click this, we get the error missing stage files. So first let's add this to a stage, and then if I click on this generate commit message, it has immediately created this commit message. If you like emojis in your commit messages, then you can enable it. So first let's go to settings and scroll down. Here is the option for enable emojis in AI commit messages. Select this, and now let's click this generate commit message, and you can notice this emoji with commit message. Great. Now let's remove this. Now let's see our next feature.
Next feature is generating docstrings. Docstrings are like mini instruction manual for your code. They explain what a piece of code does, how to use it, and why it exists. So for example, for this function, if we need to create a docstring or doc block, we need to type manually comment, and then its param is a array. This variable is an array, and it returns array of even numbers. And then we need to type description that it returns even number of array. Instead of typing manual, we can use Spec Coder to generate this automatically. Let's see. So let's remove this, and let's remove these comments also, which is added by Spec Coder code generation, and select this entire function. And next open the command palette using Ctrl Shift P or Command Shift P for Mac, and here search for generate doc string. This one, first option. Press enter to run this command, and immediately within few seconds it has created this docstring for us for this function. Here the purpose of the function and the type of this variable and the variable description and return type and its description, and here is the example use case. Let's create a docstring for this email validation function also. So first let's remove these comments. Instead of this else, simply return false like this. Now select all this function and Ctrl Shift P and run this generate docstring command, and within few seconds it has written a docstring for this function. The purpose of the function, the params and return value. Similarly, let's try this for PHP also for this function. So let's remove these comments. It is not necessary to remove all these comments. To make it clean, I am removing these comments. Now select this function and again Ctrl Shift P and generate docstring, and here we have doc block for this function. Instead of writing this manually, Spec Coder has summarized it for us. It's like having a friend who summarizes what your code does in simple words. Let's see our next feature. If you like to create unit tests for your functions, then the next feature is going to be very useful for you. It automatically creates unit tests by using AI generated test cases. It makes sure the code works perfectly by creating tests for you. Let's see this. So let's suppose we want to create unit test for this validate email function. So select this function and press Ctrl Shift P or Command Shift P for Mac user and search for generate unit test, this option, and press enter, and here we go. It has created this unit test for us. It is using chai for these unit test cases. But let's say we do not want to use chai. Instead, I want to use jest. So let's remove this all test cases and here add a comment, use jest, and select this function. Then Ctrl Shift P or Command Shift P and run this generate unit test command. And this time it has created these test cases using
jest. So to see if all these cases are working fine, let's copy all these test cases. Let's go to test, index.test, paste it right here, and next here let's export this function, and here import source index validate email. Now in the terminal let's run npm run test unit. All the tests are passing. Now you have tests that make sure your function works in different situations. With Spec Coder's generate unit test feature, testing your code becomes easy and quickly, so you can spend more time building cool stuff. Instead of making tests yourself, ask Spec Coder to do it for you. Now let's see the next feature. Sometimes coding can feel like solving a puzzle with lots of pieces. When you come across a piece of code that seems confusing, Spec Coder's Explain Code feature is here to help. Here's how it works. Let's say you are looking at a piece of code that seems tricky to understand. For now, let's assume this is the code. I know it is very easy and straightforward to understand. For this example, let's assume this code is tricky to understand. With the Explain Code feature, you can ask Spec Coder to help you figure it out. So for that, from the keyboard press Ctrl Shift P or Command Shift P for the Mac and search for Explain Code. This one, Spec Coder Explain Code. Instead of this, you can also run it from this chat. Clear this message, and here we have button Explain Code. So select this and click this button, and it will ask the AI chat to explain this code. Now the AI will break down this code into simpler parts and explain what each part does. It's like having a wise friend who can translate complicated code into plain English. If you are still confused, you can ask follow-up questions. For example, let's ask, explain this in brief. And it will break down this in simple words. So next time you are scratching your head over a confusing piece of code, don't worry, Spec Coder's Explain Code feature has got your back. Let's see our next feature. With the help of Spec Coder, you can optimize your code effortlessly with AI-powered suggestions for refactoring. We all write codes, but sometimes it can get a little messy over time, right? Spec Coder can suggest ways to tidy it up and make it work even better. Let's see how it works. So let's remove all of these. Here, let's say we have this example code. This function calculates the discount and adds tax, but it is not very clear or efficient. So let's see how we can refactor this with the help of Refactor feature. For that, first highlight all these function and Ctrl Shift P and search for Refactor code. This command, press enter, and it is going to send this in the AI chat and ask for refactored code. And here we go, it has suggested this code. AI looks at the code and suggests smart changes to make it cleaner, faster and easier to understand. And right here, this is the refactored code it has suggested, and these are the changes it has made in this code. So let's copy this and replace it right here. Let's clear this message, and instead of command palette, you can also refactor code using this button, refactor selected code. Let's see an example. So let's remove this, and let's say here we have this example code which is going to calculate total price, but it is not looking very clean. So let's select this all function, and in the AI chat click this refactor selected code, and here it has provided the refactored code, and it is using reducer for that. Let's copy this and see the difference. Look at this huge function, which is difficult to understand what is going on here. And this is refactored code. It is using reducer, which is clean and easy to understand. With the Spec Coder's refactor code feature, optimizing your code becomes easier, helping you write cleaner and more efficient code without the hassle. Now let's see our next feature. So let's remove this. The next feature is that it analyzes the complexity of your code and identifies areas of improvement. You can imagine it like a smart analyzer that checks your code for tricky parts, like a friend who helps you find easier way to do things. So let's say you are working on a project and want to make sure your code isn't too hard to understand. Instead of looking at every line yourself, you can ask Spec Coder's Find Complexity feature for help. So for that, let's take a look at this example code of finding the factorial of a number. At first glance, this function seems fine. However, Spec Coder's Find Complexity feature can analyze it further. Let's see. So select this code and from the command palette, Ctrl+Shift+P, search for Find Complexity, this one, and run this command. And here you can see it has analyzed this code and pointed out it is using recursion right here. And it has suggested the necessary fix. The code can be optimized by using a loop instead of recursion. So here is the optimized code. Copy this and paste it here. And here you can compare these two codes. Right here it is using recursion. On the other hand, here it is using for loop. By using a loop instead of recursion, the function becomes more efficient and easier to understand, especially for large numbers. This simplification improves the performance of the code and makes it more manageable. Now let's take a look at the next feature. So let's remove this. When you are coding and something doesn't work as expected, you might have a bug, but it is hard to identify where is the issue. Spec Coder's Find Bug feature helps you spot where the code isn't working correctly. Let's see how it works. Let's suppose here we have this code. In this code we have a function called calculate total that sums up all the numbers in an array. However, there is a minor bug in the for loop. Can you spot it? First, let's see this in the browser. Open the inspect tool, console, and refresh. Now here you can see we did not get the total. This code is looking fine and very difficult to identify the issue. So let's use the Spec Coder's Find Bug feature to identify the bug. So select this function, press Ctrl+Shift+P and search for Find Bug. This command, press enter, and here it finds the bug. So the issue is right here. Here we have used I less than equal to numbers.length. Instead, it should be I less than numbers.length, because array indices starts from 0 and using less than equal to sign causes the loop to try to access an element beyond the array's length, leading to an error. So let's try this code. So copy it and replace this code. Now let's see the browser, and here now we have result 150. Great, and now it is working. In conclusion, Spec Coder is all-in-one solution for smarter, faster and more efficient coding. With Spec Coder, you can streamline your coding workflow and improve productivity. If you have any thoughts, suggestions or ideas how we can improve Spec Coder, we would love to hear from you. Your feedback is invaluable in making Spec Coder even better. Don't hesitate to reach out. Your input helps us make Spec Coder the best it can be. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more coding tips, tutorials and updates. Happy coding!